So, thank you all once again for listening and watching. Trust me, I know what I'm doing, and expressing and building community, and for sharing with your friends and family. Your support reminds everyone that conversation is the antidote to apathy. And if you're enjoying these, please share a kind rating and review and follow along on social media and hit subscribe up there as I'm really quite grateful. So, we've talked on the show before about this sometime elusive feeling of home. I know it's not an Indian or South Asian thing, and this longing is quite universal, but it's interesting to think of the endless mechanisms in our hearts and minds that spark this journey. Sometimes this ignition and the courage to find this sense of home happens from an ambition that builds with creativity and achievement, combined with loss and tragic disruption, motivating us to find a courageous and cathartic path forward with renewal and purpose. So I was truly drawn to share a conversation with renowned chef Vikas Khanna, whose new restaurant, Bungalow, opened in New York City just this past spring. Vikas was born in Amritsar, and with the resilience of overcoming a major foot disability and the powerful encouragement of his grandmother and mother, began his journey as a chef, running his own successful catering business at 17. He then moved to New York City, where he started from scratch, working countless jobs, faced bullying and racism, and eventually found liberation and success, garnering consecutive Michelin stars for his restaurant Junun. Vikas's impeccable spirit of team and timing have built an entire global ecosystem of offerings, from multiple restaurants to best-selling books to serving as a judge on MasterChef India and to making films. So, whether he's cooking for celebrities or world leaders, or for those with no home or no food, Vikas enshrines a sense of family and home and heritage in absolutely everything he does, which is why for him the tragic loss of his sister Radha inspired him to share this deep sense of coming home through his culinary art by recently opening Bungalow in New York City on what would have been her 50th birthday, creating a connective and creative space to celebrate her life and invite everyone to experience Vikas's food as a way to take you home. I had a chance to catch up with Vikas as he reflected on it all, and I started by asking him about what he remembered from his first experience making a meal for
I
others.
was 13 years old. This is almost 50 years ago. 40 years ago. What's wrong with me? Early
Yeah.
morning. This was almost 40 years ago. My grandmother and me, we were, with my mom's help, we were supposed to go to a school to sell Batura chanas.
Yeah.
I was helping in making the Baturas and the chickpeas. And that stuck with me forever.
Yeah.
That, that moment of pride that we're going to make money, kind of. But more than that, it was like, this is amazing to be of some use to the society, kind of.
Mm.
I don't know why I was so proud that moment. We had to fill up the buckets of chickpeas and take it to a school and give it
Right.
to that we couldn't even charge. But I was just proud to be tagging along and helping them. For me, that was the first professional meal, a moment I felt that I can make this professionally. This whole passion of mine, I can turn this into a massive profession. Maybe
You
I was,
know, no, no, no. What was that? That last part?
but I felt that I can turn this entire passion of mine of cooking into a profession.
Yeah.
I was very young and
Yeah.
I was just getting into my teenage. Like, this was the meal I really remember. I really remember packing all those things in newspapers, and
Yeah.
no taboo at that time that you can pack anything in newspaper. No,
Right.
everything just went along. But I
That's right.
remember the pickle we served with it. I remember the onions with it, the spiced onions. I remember everything. Everything I
Yeah.
remember really. It
Yeah.
was the moment my brain said, register this. This might be your defining moment.
And because that's such a special, sweet moment, it was with family, it was so innocent, relatively naive. Are there things about those days that you miss now? Because, everything is such a different level of production. Uh,
I miss everything about this time. It's
yeah.
not a transaction.
Yeah.
Now it's about a transaction. Everything is about which dish you order and how you pay and how you reserve, and everything is so calculated and
Yeah.
transaction. I hope with Bungalow, I'm trying to reverse that, where people feel
Yeah.
this transaction for him. and
Yeah.
which is a very unique thing for a restaurant chef to say that, as a professional, to say that,
Right.
I have the clock. And
Yeah.
at that moments where people feel that this is not just a transaction point. I'm
Yeah.
to revive those moments, what I've lived as a privileged kid who was taught such with so much grace and love, something which is we inherit cooking. And I feel that to honor that, as I'm I'm hitting the age where I'm the oldest now in my
Yeah.
generation of the chefs who are still cooking in the kitchens. So
Yeah.
I that that I'm trying to remove the word transaction from it. What I
Yeah.
learned that food is actually something much bigger than just a transaction.
And that's so beautifully put. In general, for you, those days when you that we were just talking about, and it sort of finding a way to not be transactional now with some of the new endeavors. Have you found a different way to what it means to actually be courageous or bold in the kitchen, especially, compared to when you first started, right? That idea that you can still be free and innocent and maybe even take risks without it feeling like it's just a calculated business move.
I do that all the time.
Yeah,
I still do that in most of the things I stand behind. Uh, not I'm not successful in everything I do, but it could be from making documentaries, to movies, to restaurants, to move to very importantly to create a museum. I
yeah,
think it opened my eyes to say that this is a one-sided investment. There's going to be no return to this. I just felt so proud of that. Instead of
yeah,
me buying another house in New York, I felt that no, there's a need to save and to preserve and give a second chance to utensils and some earthenware and some kitchen tools from all over the country. I've been doing that even in my books. Generally, every book you buy of mine is not a transaction. All my royalties go to certain causes. So I've
yeah,
created an ecosystem which is much larger than we can see, where
yeah,
come and they're on the auto run kind of thing. I don't know
yeah.
the word that many of my works just get directly funded different causes of mine for which I believe them very strongly. Even for the restaurant, I do that. A
That's
part of
beautiful.
the time you eat in my restaurant, you feed 5 kids in India, which is and done very calculatively, done in a way that it doesn't make you like there's no victimization in this. It's a pride moment.
Well, you mentioned all those things, and you also mentioned that you're among the senior, perhaps, people in your generation, right? So, one question I've always been fascinated by is how, in a way, do you age gracefully as a culinary artist? What's the secret, perhaps, to even not just becoming more senior, but to artfully creating some longevity?
It's a beautiful question. I just feel that I'm going to try not to be that bitter Indian chef who feels that anyone who's trying to express themselves in a modern way, I don't support it. Uh,
Right, right.
that I'm not going to be that angry uncle who is upset at the guests all the time. I'm not going to do that. I've committed to
Very good self-awareness, by the way. That's great.
really. You'll be surprised that I feel that I'm going to not have my big crown of entitlement. That I'm not going to do that. I'm going to
Mm,
every day in the kitchen and the restaurant, and to earn this crown every single evening, I'm going to fight for it. I'm going to I'm going to get burnt. I'm going to get hurt. I'm going to get, but at the same time, I'm not going to express that in a way that the people I'm serving it, because I understand when I'm serving someone, there's so much of history which comes with me that people feel like, this is a moment for them. I'm
yeah.
going to do that, but I'm not going to be that bitter guy
Mm,
who's some Indian chef get a Michelin star, and I'm going to rather be celebrating. I'm going to be angry with that and start using those slurs that they don't know how to cook. I'm the master. Look at my. I am not going to do that.
yeah.
That
Yeah. And,
so that everybody has the right to cook the way they want to cook.
yeah. it sounds like it's a great combination of gratitude and vulnerability and acceptance and patience and all those things. And more than anything else, uh, allowing for your most authentic love of this to come out. Um, I actually, I was thinking a little bit about this new endeavor that you have had and that so many people are enjoying now. But so far, at least, what do you think most people are finding surprising about Bungalow?
I think I'm so accessible.
That there's Vikas all the time.
I get people crying and being so emotional about this, and also that if they bring food, that will I taste it? And like, and that shocks people a lot that I taste everything people bring for me. And somebody
Yeah.
asked, don't you feel, no, last week, don't you feel scared that, people are getting, I said, if I have to die this way, I'll die this way. I figured it out.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that's I'm old enough to see the eyes and see the gratitude of person who's cooked for you. And I understand that every day I have different types of doklas and khandvis, and it's like my every all evening it's an emotional thing of kids who are deciding now to be joining culinary arts. And this is first generation kids which have not seen them much
Yeah.
before. But with Bungalow, something evoked in us our patriotism, our pride of heritage, and our color and our ancestral values. Everything I feel our kids have become so conscious of that I see
Mm.
so many kids coming and they want an apron from me or a small token because they are going to be now cooking Indian food. They never thought that, many times
Which
I
is
get, what difference has this made?
yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
most question. What difference did Bungalow opening at this time made? Um,
Amazing. Yeah, and I mean, I was looking at first off any place that has perhaps a bon sour and a chai pani drink. I'm sold already. So those elements have definitely hit on me. But I can see how people come in and they may have that both commonality of nostalgia and then also this beautiful feeling of going someplace else. And now they have like this great combination of that. So, I mean, truthfully, some culinary experiences in restaurants, they take you away to another world. And then others make you find your way back home. And I'm curious, is the secret for all of this somehow to meld these two together? And that's such a difficult thing to capture. But is that something that people really in a way that is very defined? Is that what you strive for ultimately?
so every time I've started a restaurant, I don't do many restaurants because I do one and then I stick to it wholeheartedly and
Yeah.
full conviction. Even when it's falling apart, I still constantly believe in it. And the day I opened Junoon, I wrote it on my notebook, in my chef's diary, that all caps, I want to win a Michelin star for India.
Mm.
That was my mission. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and with Bungalow, it was not me, my sister wrote, get people home.
Yeah.
Actually, getting people home is a much bigger responsibility than we can even imagine.
Yep.
Everyone has their own perspective of home, but what do you do that you make your diner that they are almost feeling nostalgic? How do you evoke that? Because home is an absolute illusion for us anymore. We have imaginary homes now. We don't
Right.
have homes, We can all be pretending to be well settled here and pretending to be the richest diaspora. But truly speaking inside, we come from such a grounded community that for us to feel the equation of home is totally changed.
Yeah.
It's totally changed. It has been stuck in time somewhere back home where it was so much of love and so much of security for kids that you don't need a therapist. It worked as a therapist. The entire community system works as therapist.
Yeah.
What do you do to create that? I think sense of smell, I figured out. Sense of interiors,
Yeah.
sense of safety, and sense of taste.
Mm.
What do you do that when you put a plate in front of them and they feel that this is a way which is leading them to home? How do you just serve a simple, humble dal and it has to evoke a memory of this is how the grandmothers served them.
Yeah.
It's a big job undertaken, and I'm ready to sacrifice every moment of my day just to keep this on doing this on repeat mode, and
Yeah.
every time make it feel like this is fresh for the guest. While you
Yep.
serve 300, 400 people a night, anyone who comes has to feel this is the fresh moment for them. A
Yeah.
fresh kitchen has opened up for them. It's a, and of course, experience plays a big part of this. I
Yeah.
will agree on that. And I will say that getting people home is possibly one of the biggest gifts you can biggest. That's the only
Yep.
place we felt so secured.
Let me think about this one for a second too, because as you are, like you said, you stick with something through thick and thin. Is it easier to build trust with people coming for the experience with reliable consistency or reliable variety?
Restaurant is a combination of a lot of things. Lot of things, and people do not realize that people in my industry also find it hard to imagine when I say this, that it is not an industry of food,
Yeah,
industry of people. So
of
something
course.
with someone whom you love too much and you care about that moment, and your dining experience automatically is enhanced, right? Your
Yeah.
dining, and I feel that that adds to it the moment you're with somebody. It adds to it. Yesterday night, a girl was proposing to another girl, and she said, "Can you make it special for me?" And you have to find a, because this
क्या
is
बात है?
once in time. And
Yeah.
the reason this entire industry changed for me is because of my sister. My sister and me
Yes.
used to go out to dine, and most of our pictures after she passed away were in a restaurant.
Mm.
And so many of these pictures are so emotional because it happened during some time in life. It was a celebration, or it was too much of pain we were going through, or too much of darkness. And the only way we could overshadow that darkness was going to a restaurant and eating a meal. It,
Mm.
her presence in my life and her non-presence in my life has made me very empathetic to diners. I don't
Yeah.
know what happened to me. I'm not the same guy what I was before February 28, 2022. I'm not
Yeah.
the same guy. I know that.
Yeah.
But its consistency in that relationship is very crucial and very hard.
I love that. I love how you said the consistency in the relationship. And so that could mean so many different things to so many different people. And that gratification that you find for everyone's experience must just be magic. Um, when it comes to the food part, does it become, is it more gratifying to simplify a very complex recipe or meal, or help a simple dish feel very complex and rich with experience?
We play between these. Um, if you see all my creations at Bungalow and how they look like, and
Yeah.
you're serving a dish in Manhattan restaurant where you dream to inspire an entire generation of chefs. You cannot be serving stuff which they have seen before.
Yeah.
I also I also learned one game that it's the game of originality. The moment you see a dish, you should be able to, oh, that's this restaurant. And
Right. Right.
should be able to, even if it's chicken tikka, the way you do that whole game around it, the plate around it, the sauces,
Yeah.
the positioning, it should be like, oh my God, this is Bungalow does this.
Right.
Your signature style has to evolve without taking away from the dish.
It's a
One of,
lot like your fingerprints.
yeah, one of the most famous dishes I've invented in this restaurant is the dahi ke kebab.
Mm.
Now, this name itself is very like complex and for me, like dahi and kebab. It's dahi kebab. It's the way we wrap the yogurt, seasoned yogurt in ketafi. It goes through
Yeah.
terms and conditions of freezing, non-freezing, so that, and it has to look perfect the way the katafi is wrapped around it like sevenia, and then it's fried and served on a. I had a pickle in Ahmedabad of cabbage in
Yeah.
2019, and I mentioned it in one of my books. They create a pickle out of cabbage, and then I puree that as a base, and then there's a mango gel on the side. I'm not trying to do fusion because that tikki is going to taste exactly dahi ki tikki somebody has is going to be transformed into a whole new way of adding more layers to it.
Sure.
Just get away from it. I'm not doing any fusion food. But if you
Yeah.
look at the dishes, how I present the food and how it looks like, it has to, familiarity is very important in dining
Yeah.
because
Of
this
course.
belongs to us. It belongs to ancestors.
I love that also because you're right. There's such a blend of all of those things. I imagine that as you're talking about this, right? I mean, you can tell in your voice that there's such passion in being able to make sure that you're respectful to the tradition, but you're also presenting it in such a unique kind of signature way. And then I think about all the other things you do, right? So for you as an artist, is there at all this expressive storytelling joy that clearly you get from cooking and presenting, but that there's also maybe a void when cooking or running a restaurant doesn't completely capture all of this. So, do you solve that by doing the other things, right? The writing, the making movies, or are those completely just separate endeavors? Is everything kind of an extension of all that you have to present as an artist?
Many years ago, I was told by somebody that you're never going to be equal to us.
Hmm. Wow.
Whatever you do, you'll always be inferior. And I think that thing really hit me very hard. Generally, I'm a very thick-skinned. I love Salman Rushdie told me one time that I have skin of an elephant and heart of a poet. I like
Yeah.
to do that, but few things penetrated me very deeply. And that moment when somebody said that to me, I did speak about that in one of the Shah Rukh Khan's TED talks I did with him
Yeah.
about that one little moment of being less. I don't want to be less. I want to be in multiplications.
Yeah.
I want to be in multiplications. We also have a very limited life, shelf life of a chef. I
Right.
understand, but I've been very successful in doing things which no chef would enter those territories.
Mm.
To make a proper feature film, you write, you direct, you do the makeup, you do the costumes, everything. Of course, I'm putting my own money, so you don't expect me to have $100 million movies. Uh, they're real movies with real missions, and
Yeah.
I use my voice in a much magnifications when I tell a story which is to the heart, to the point, and also entertains you. It sticks with you. It also has the potential to reach the Amazon. It also has the potential to reach the eligibility list of Oscars. I do work like that. Otherwise, I'm totally goal driven. If I'm
Yeah.
making a movie, just finished a movie 2 days ago with Shivana Azmi. It's about a failed chef in New York who signs a wrong contract and has
Right.
been 20 years. And that's a dark side of our industry. It's
Sure.
a very dark side of our industry, especially in America, where you're made to sign contracts and you can't get out of them, and you have to be almost like modern day slavery.
Yeah.
Uh, I
I
like
think,
to use that voice. I like to use that voice of experiences. Like to use that voice for telling the story. And I think that is why even my books, if you read any of my two books, it looks like it's done by two different people.
mm, yeah, yeah. And what's amazing about that is that those voices continue, and it's interesting how the drive for that, of course, comes from so many unique things, right? A fulfilling way to really capture what it is that you want to say, whether those are the bright sides or the dark sides, or even the idea that someone at some point told you that you won't be as good as something, and how it's so powerful to shape that into something new, something different, and something very vibrant. I want to ask you something that I always go through. I'm sure everyone goes through this, but I'm just so curious how you might approach a question like this or even a thought like this. But do you ever get bored of your own cooking?
It's true. I do. I do. Um,
How do you combat that?
you try to find a way that you create something new. I
Mm,
need energy. I have that. Right now, we started a conversation with mangoes. Right now, the
yeah,
mango is inspiration for me. We have monsoon coming. I'm already working on something so unique from Malvan region. Uh, I feel Maharashtrian monsoons are built different. And
As a Marathi, I mean, I'm born and brought up here, but as a Marathi, enthusiast, I love that. So great.
a Punjabi guy speaking about all these cultural aspects of the country, it's important that we have to find way to pollinate all these cultures.
Yeah,
So I went to the entire region has the most unique way of expressing monsoon. So I'm
yeah,
trying to make a dish. It has been almost like 2 weeks now. I still can't pinpoint what I had there. I went through all my notes,
yeah,
and it was just the simplest sauce of coriander, green chilies, and coconut. Just three ingredients. I'm not finding that balance. And I've
yeah,
tried coconut in three different spaces. I'm still not done well, but it's important for me to keep reinventing. It gives me
yeah,
oxygen. A person with such heavy drive of creation, and a currency doesn't inspire me. You can keep talking about. I can sit with people and they keep telling me that how they're so wealthy all the time.
yeah,
All I have to hear that we have 5 cars. I bought the modern version. I'm like, I don't have driver's license, and then they tell me that how many houses they have, and I'm just
yeah.
keep thinking that for me the true craft is what lives beyond you.
Mm, yeah. So
That
true.
could be bringing a Marathi boy, turning him back to something which I just said, which is unique. I don't know where you were from. I have no idea. But that
Yeah,
root of when you speak, that smell of the hands, and so for me, that is amazing legacy.
yeah,
Amazing. And all
yeah,
evening at Bungalow, we recreate pictures of that legacy because somebody
yeah,
has taken a picture with you 15 years ago on a father's birthday, and now father's retired, he's 80 years old, and now we recreate that whole picture. And I learned one thing to participate.
mm.
I don't want to be that angry uncle. That's why reason is more.
So I mean, first off, there's so many layers to that, right? If there, I think that's really special, and I love how that reinvention, I think, always has to happen, especially in an era where food and entertainment are just constantly blurred. Um, and they've made celebrities, right, out of these culinary artists across the world with great talents and great, specter on their craft and constantly trying to perfect that. But they're almost kind of these gharanas of branding, and for many different ecosystems, as you say. But when it's all stripped away and when it's all taken back, and again, you're trying to create this feeling in the kitchen. What are you eating or cooking when no one is really looking? When no one, there's no cameras, there's no nothing.
I eat very simple food. I cook my meals. Um, Even if I'm traveling in the hotels, I just try and get a small counter and I'll cook. It could
Yeah,
be cook once in 2 days that I keep and make extra food,
yeah,
understanding schedules. But I eat extremely multigrains and high protein diet because
mm,
I work out a lot and I bike a lot in the city and I run. And because I do that, besides being on my feet for 16 hours a day, I figured out that I need to always be constantly conscious of what I eat.
yeah,
It's a very draining job. Um, when you have to greet 300 people with same enthusiasm every single evening on a repeat mode. But you also understand that people have spent hours, hours dressing up, getting ready to come and see you, 2 months of fighting for reservations. I'm empathetic to that. I feel
yeah,
that. That gives me the boost, and I also need that needs to be counterbalanced with good diet for me.
yeah.
So
You need the nourishment. You need
I
the
that
yeah,
I eat my I eat early dinner because I need to be totally positioned in a way that I'm ready to take that war every
yeah,
single day. It's a battle. When you'll visit the restaurant, if I'm saying this just to you, you might not understand it, but when you're in the restaurant and you're seeing the atmosphere, you're like, how much energy is required?
yeah,
Serving, feeding, smiling, listening to everyone. What you said, the best thing you can do is listen. People
yeah,
have such a long history of watching you. The families have split apart, the grandmothers have gone, but they used to watch you. And this is
yeah,
one of the closest, warmest memories. So to recreate that, I need to be fueled. So I'm a very high protein guy. I eat around 5 eggs in the morning. I eat
Yeah.
oats. I drink coffee. It's
Yeah.
important to me. And I eat high protein like chicken breast and fish.
Yeah.
But on the
Well,
vegetarian, when my mom is here visiting me, I only eat vegetarian
yeah.
because I want to be eating from her plate. So
Yeah.
I just feel that. So that is the time I shift 100% vegetarian when I'm around my mom.
You know, I think the thoughtfulness there is you can't serve others without first feeling that your energy and battery are recharged and refueled every day. And I imagine that there's an energy you also draw from, again, this whole feeling of home, right? And New York City is now your home. It's where your soul is. It's been your home for a while now, and yet your formative experiences and your, maybe the heart of things happen in India. um, and the heart of your menus, the foundation, what so many people enjoy at your restaurant. So in a world that's very globally connected, do you feel like, again, the nostalgia, the idea that people have for Indian cuisine, it is as diverse as it already is it actually changing to, in a way, locate it away from its natural home? That there's a New York ecosystem, there's a London ecosystem, there's a Dubai ecosystem. Is Indian cuisine actually changing at all, or are we just using different manifestations of it?
Beautiful question. It's, it's never going to be the same cuisine what you eat back home in the native countries. It's not
Yeah.
going. America doesn't have that kind of produce, and I've been very vocal about that. And I grow some stuff from flowers to some produce so that I can bring those smells back. One of the first things I said, the smell of home is quintessential for me.
Yeah.
And it could be as simple as the sandalwood on a grandmom's forehead, defined
Yeah.
home as a child. I feel, I could be wrong. I'm still not so experienced in this. That one of the most important things you do as an artist is you evoke a sense of belonging in people.
Mm. Yeah.
Uh, it's very difficult to replicate the dining experiences people have at their homes or in restaurants in their native countries. But when you come to Bungalow, you're going to feel that I'm almost transporting you to India. So this was the compass. I have to take either whitewash this or take my mom's side. It was that clear to me. I can't let
Yeah.
my so I went all the way, this compass went all the way towards the side. The moment you come into Bungalow, of course, once you get seated, I will tell you few things which happen on the table, which are still very less happening in Indian restaurants. The
Yeah.
moment you sit down, you're going to get a wipe with a
Yeah.
sandalwood smell moment. And also,
Yep.
it tells you to wipe your hands, fasten your seat belts literally. That we
Right.
encourage you to eat with your hands. The
Yeah.
moment you have that, you will be served some creation of mine which is in form of crisps or papad or
Yeah.
anything. We do it many things in house. That will be served. Again, for middle class kids, very important. The moment you get served your meal, you'll be served pickled onions, chilies, lime, hot sauces which have pickling flavors to them. So
Yeah.
imagine the moment you finish your food, we're going to start, even if you're having dal, we're going to serve you bowls, so that
Yeah.
having a dal in a bowl is a whole different spiritual experience than having
Right.
it on a plate and trying to figure out how to eat it with a fork. I've been to so many restaurants where this gave me fork to eat Indian food, and I don't know how to eat with a fork
Right.
because we were always given a spoon,
Yeah.
right? And the
Such
moment
a
you finish your meal, you're going to be served. The moment you get your check, it's going to come with a saunf, with
yeah.
also spice mix blend. That
Yeah.
saunf is Ahmedabad is possibly the best saunf you will eat. I stand by
Right.
my word because that song made you feel that you are safe when your dad paid for you, when your parents paid for you. There was
Yeah.
something about that little song of the carefreeness and the freedom that you did
Yeah.
not expect the world to be like this at that moment. That
Yeah.
I've seen people go emotional breakdown just having us. I know it's such a simple thing, but it's all packaged, it's all branded, the way it comes to you. just trying to make a dining experience close to home.
Yeah.
And the effort it takes, it has to look seamless, but the effort it takes, what you said, it can't be away from the native home, because this is what your reference is. You didn't
Yeah.
create anything, everything was given to you in heritage.
You know, I want to close with first off, that's so beautiful and so lovely to think about that there's such respect to that experience, respect to the tradition, respect to the heritage, and yet it feels new. And yet it feels like it's something that is fresh and you want to come back to that over and over again. I'll get you out of here on this in that, when people are tasting your food or hearing the story even or seeing you in person, right? They might be seeing you on television or on the internet. They might be reading a book of yours or at your museum. They may even be the recipient or on the receiving end of your philanthropy. um, Especially when they're experiencing you for the first time. This is the first time they're getting introduced to Vikas Khanna. How do you want them to feel, no matter what element of the Vikas Khanna experience they're receiving? How do you hope they feel after that first time in experiencing your work?
I feel that um, many people have told me this, that this is that crazy guy from Amritsar without any resources, with just one single willpower, that I want to present my heritage to the world in the most authentic way without changing its form. If he can do it, we can do it.
Mm,
I hope that's the, if there is anything like legacy, that's the only legacy. That if he can walk into from those narrow streets of Amritsar, selling those breads on the street and the schools, and he could create this in a totally most difficult, challenging city in the world, we have no reason to say that we can't do this. We should be also loud and proud of our heritage. Our parents, our grandparents were chosen by gods for us.
mm,
God chose us which home we are going to be born,
yeah.
and reason for that. And he kept finding that reason and kept expressing his gratitude for where he came from, because he just had to prove one point, that he was no less. Just one point.
Just one.
Just one.
Well,
I don't want to be equal. I just want to be better. I don't want to be equal.
you know, on a journey of inspiration and gratitude and authenticity and such sparkle, I can't think of a better way to, experience you and your work. Because what an absolute joy this was. I'm really so grateful, and I hope we can visit with you again down the road sometime.
Yes, I want to see you at my restaurant and see what I'm trying to create every evening.
I can't wait. You're listening to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing. Stay tuned.